What's up, guys? Swift here. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about David Montgomery. Now, I really love David Montgomery. I appreciate what he did for us here in Chicago. And I want to preface this by saying I wish nothing but the best for Monty, but him coming out and saying that he wasn't appreciated in Chicago and throwing shots at his former team after signing for the Detroit Lions, I feel like I have to address this. Let's get right into it. Monty says he feels appreciated now. Really? The Lions just drafted a running back in the first round a couple of weeks after they signed you. How can you feel appreciated now? Monty was well respected in Chicago and a fan favorite. We also built our offense around him for the last 4 seasons. We gave him 915 carries and 194 passing targets for a total of 1,109 opportunities to make a play over 4 seasons. If you factor in his 8 games missed due to injury, you realize the Bears gave him the ball what would amount to have been well over 300 plus touches a season in the NFL. In a day and age where not many running backs get that many opportunities. The Lions, meanwhile, just drafted a running back in the first round with a top 12 pick. That's very high draft capital. Do we honestly think David Montgomery is going to get 300 plus touches in Detroit if Jahmyr Gibbs is healthy all year? I don't. Let's examine Jamal Williams' numbers over the last 2 seasons in Detroit. In 2021, he only had 179 touches, which isn't close to the 300 that Monty averages. But in 2022, even after taking the majority of the carries with DeAndre Swift getting hurt again, Jamal only had 274 touches on the year, which was a career high. It's the most he's ever got, and it's well less than what Monty was on pace for to average in Chicago. Think about that. David Montgomery never had less than 240 touches as a Bear. And he would have had way more than that every year if he would have remained healthy. Now, you do got to look at the other side of the coin, though. I'm very fair. Jamal Williams had less touches than Monty usually gets, but he led the league in rushing touchdowns last year, so Monty now has a chance to play behind a very good offensive line. So theoretically, Monty could improve on his numbers while getting less touches, but that's not the point here. Monty said he didn't feel appreciated in Chicago when he was the leader in touches on offense for 4 straight seasons. We built our offense around him. Think about this. Our offensive line helped lead us to the best rushing attack in the NFL last year, also top 5 in run blocking. But Justin Fields' bonus heroics made us statistically the best rushing team in the league. But our offensive line was very good in run blocking, yet Khalil Herbert outproduced David Montgomery in every single category when it comes to rushing the ball. That's discounting pass blocking and receiving, but purely as a runner, Monty was supposed to be better, but he simply wasn't. I have another video breaking that down entirely, but to me what Monty is saying is this is all about money. That's what he means when he says he feels disrespected. So let's get into that a little bit. It's been widely reported that the Bears said they offered Monty a contract close to what he signed for in Detroit. It was a few million less total, or even the same total but less guarantees. It wasn't confirmed 100%. But that's the thing, Monty left us for just a couple of $1 million when he signed for 3 years and $18 million. But let me bring up another point here. The Lions have an out in that contract, where I think it's very likely he only ends up getting a 2-year, $12 million deal, especially when considering the Lions just drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. That factors huge into this. You don't draft someone in the top 15 picks of the NFL draft if you don't plan on playing them a lot. Remember that huge contract we gave to Mike Glennon? Much bigger contract than what Monty just got. And then we drafted Mitch Trubisky in the first round. A painful reminder that our last GM was awful, but also that money in free agency doesn't guarantee you much, especially when your team picks someone at your position in the first round of the draft. Now, that's not the best example, but it's one that Bears fans remember. Now, I want to add on to that by saying I do know that you need more than one running back in the NFL, and the Lions will use them as a nice 1-2 punch. But the question becomes for how long? Yes, they will look very good this year, and Monty might even lead the way and start most of the season, but by next year or late in this season, I expect Jahmyr Gibbs to have that starting job and be the featured back, meaning that instead of the 250 or so touches that Monty should expect this season, he's probably going to get 150 to 200 max next year. So after 2 years of his deal, he will be a backup running back, and I do not think they will pay him $7 million for the third year of that deal, and Monty will be cut and a free agent in 2025. Our running back room could look completely different by then, with only Roschon Johnson under contract. But did Monty just burn that bridge as far as coming back? I wouldn't go that far, but I would say it sure is less likely now than it was a few days ago. I just think it's important to remember that most of us fans, if we were asked a year ago if we thought the Bears would offer Monty anything close to what the Lions did, I bet 90% of us fans at least would have guessed that Monty would have stayed here. Most of us thought that was the kind of guy Monty was. Instead, he signed with a division rival and is now taking shots at our franchise for just a couple $1 million more. That hurts, honestly. I wasn't Monty's number one fan. I love running backs with more speed, but I always rooted for Monty and loved his play style. But we also have to think about how bad the Bears' offense has been over the last 4 years, and Monty's been a huge part of this offense. I don't know how many times I've heard fans say, if Monty had a better O-line, he'd be a monster. Well, now he gets to play for a top 5 offensive line, one of the best in the league, where the guy he's replacing led the league in touchdowns last season. I'm not saying our offensive line has been great or that our passing game has even been good. At times it's been non-existent. So Monty had a ton on his shoulders. Defenses paid a lot of attention to him, and he was a warrior for us. So I mean no disrespect to Monty, and I wish him well in Detroit. However, I just don't like his comments. Guys leave teams all the time and don't take shots at their former teams. I didn't hear a single one of our free agents talking negatively about their former teams. The closest thing would be Nate Davis and DeMarcus Walker just being blown away by our facilities and our training rooms, saying they were worlds better than in Tennessee. But that's commonly known throughout the league. That's not taking a shot at your former team. The Bears spent a lot of money upgrading and have top-notch facilities at Hallis Hall. It's time that we had a stadium that could do the same thing. But David Montgomery had 4 seasons in the NFL as a featured back in Chicago. It's going to come down to whether or not he lives up to the hype that a lot of Bears fans had for Demo. A lot of people thought that he could be a top 5 back behind a great offensive line. This season will present his best opportunity to do that in the NFL. But what if he doesn't take his game to the next level and substantially improve upon his career 3.9 yards per carry average? Then I believe he's going to be a lot less appreciated in Detroit and lose his spot as the feature back. Does that mean he will be useless? No. He can still be a really good number 2 in a dynamic 1-2 punch. He just won't ever get the same opportunities that he had in Chicago, which is my main point in this. Chicago fans, coaches, and teammates all respected David Montgomery, so it's tough to hear him say he wasn't appreciated. He now has some big shoes to fill in Detroit. I believe Detroit is going to give him 1 season to impress. If he doesn't score 15 plus TDs and average over 4 yards a carry, that's going to be disappointing. He signed for big money and is replacing a guy who scored 17 touchdowns in just 9 starts last year. Think about that, guys. Jamal Williams left Detroit after scoring 17 touchdowns in a season. Monty's never been close to 17 touchdowns in a year. His career highs, it would take him 2 full seasons to get to 17 touchdowns. Considering Detroit just let Jamal Williams walk after he scored 17 touchdowns and chose to pay David Montgomery instead, expectations for him in Detroit are going to be sky high. Every single time that Monty runs for less than 3 yards or gets stuffed at the line of scrimmage, Detroit fans will clamor for Jahmyr Gibbs, the electrifying rookie. I think there's a great chance that they form an awesome 1-2 punch and look great this season. But will Monty get that big payday in year 3 of his contract? I'm going to go on record and say I doubt it. We won't know for another full 2 years. But when that day comes, if Detroit cuts him and he walked away from Chicago for just 2 years and $12 million, who's going to feel disrespected then? Chicago fans are loyal, and Monty would have been loved here by fans for life. He still will by a lot of us. I'm going to still root for him myself because I'm not petty. However, I had to address these comments and let you guys know that I'm disappointed to say the least, and I expected more out of Monty. I honestly hope he does well in Detroit, just not when he plays the Bears, or if they're in a playoff race against Chicago, but his comments did leave a sour taste in my mouth. Hopefully Monty focuses on football and stops talking bad about his former team. He was outproduced by Khalil Herbert, and we still offered him a nice contract. The NFL is a business, and that's about as much appreciation as I think you're going to get. So I honestly just think the comments are weird. I apologize for the rant today. I just kind of had a few things that I wanted to say about David Montgomery, and this story's being spread around like a wildfire. So I wanted to quickly address it, give you guys my take, and then put it to bed. I wish you good luck this season, David Montgomery. No hard feelings, but poor choice of words in my opinion. Stay tuned, guys. I have my Tyreek Stevenson all 22 in the works, another undrafted free agent spotlight video that I'm working on, and a lot more. Please remember to hit that like button for me. Stay tuned, and until next time, bear down.